Salvete omnes. This is the read-through of the Nāvigātiō Sancti Brendanis Abbatis, or the Voyage of St. Brendan the Abbot. We'll be going through the original version, and this text is from my print reader edition, which is available inexpensively from Amazon if you check the description below. And that does come with a full glossary on each page, fully parsed, of everything that's on the facing page. So if you want the kind of optimal reading experience for the read-along, I'd recommend getting a print version for YouTube resolution reasons. I'm just going single page here. Anyhow, incipiamus, let's begin. So, Caput 1, Chapter 1, Fābula Barrindī, the story of Barrindis. And as a note, the chapter titles are supplied by myself. They weren't in Carl Selmer's critical text. So, Sanctus Brendanus, Saint Brendan, Filios Finloca Nepotis Alti, the son of Finloc, of the line of Alti. And I put in a little note here at the bottom. The bibliography references an article by Carney, who says that Nepotis Alti should be understood as communicating that Brendan belongs to the Sept, which is an Irish name for a clan of Alte. I'm fairly ignorant of Irish history and customs from that time, so we'll go with Carney's word on that. De genere Eugeni Stagnilen, so of the Hugonacht of Loch Lane, which is like a ruling dynasty thing. Stagnile regioni muminentium ortus fuit. So ortus fuit, he was born. So ortus there is the past passive participle of arire, to rise up or to spring up. So he was born in the marshy region, we've got ablative there, of Munster. And this is Munster, the southwest portion of Ireland, not to be confused with Munster, Germany. Erat vir magnae abstinentiae, so he was a man of great abstinence, or a man of great self-control. Et in virtutibus clarus, and famous in virtue, ablative there, or in virtues, literally. The father, and here he's an abbot, so this is the spiritual father, of almost fere trium mirium monocorum, 3,000 monks. So St. Brendan's an abbot. He's got a big monastery. About 3,000 people are in it. Cum esset in suo certamine. So, being in his battle. And this is what's called a cum circumstantial clause, where we've got the subjunctive here, esset, from to be. So, like, being in his battle, suo certamine. And I'd assume this is a spiritual struggle he's in. In loco qui dicitur saltus virtutem Brendani, in the place which qui is called, dicitur, note the passive there, is called the Valley of the Virtue of Brendan. And I'm not sure what the history there is on why he's got a valley named after him. There are some other documents about the life of Brendan. I haven't gotten around to making readers' editions of those yet. Contigit, it happened, ut quidem patrum, that a certain quidem, father, came, venisset, to him on a certain night, quodam vespere. We've got the ablative there. So quidem and its derivatives like quodam are used a lot throughout the story. So it happened that a certain father, and this is another monk, or another abbot, I should say, came to him on a certain night, named Barrindis, the grandson of Neil. And of course, Carney jumps in here again to supply some additional context. Apparently, he's a great-grandson of one of the kings of Ireland. Now here, Veneset, that is, it's in what's called the subjunctive mood, which we won't get super into the grammar here. Pretty much because it's in this phrase, it happened, ut, that something happened, the subjunctive is used. Cumque interrogatus esset, multis sermonibus a paradicto sancto patre. So this is another clause that uses the subjunctive. So kwe there is and when or and with, having been interrogated. So interrogatus is a past passive participle. We combined it with esset, which is a subjunctive form of to be. So having been interrogated by or with many words, multis ceremonibus, that's ablative there, by the aforesaid Holy Father, again, all ablative, he began to cry, coepit lacrimare, et se prostrare in terram, and he prostrated himself, say, on the ground, or he laid down on the ground, et diutius, for a long time, he remained, permanere, in prayer, oratione. Sanctus Brendanus erexit illum de terra. So Saint Brendan raised him up from the ground. Et osculatus est eum, deacons, and he kissed him, saying. So oculatus est is an interesting grammatical construction there. It means he kissed, because the verb for to kiss is definite, meaning it's only got passive endings or a passive form. So the only way to put a kiss in the past tense here is to use osculatus est. So it does have an active meaning. He kissed him, saying, Pater, quod tristitiam habemus in adventu tuo. So, Father, why do we have tristitiam, sadness? You may be familiar with the word tristis for sad. So, tristitiam, sadness, in your coming or in your arrival. So venire is to come. The past passive participle of that is ventus. And adventus is like coming to something. We've got this word in English. Around Christmas time, you might have an advent calendar where you count down the days till Christmas or the days till the God-man Christ coming to earth. So advent. None. So none is a word that comes from non plus ne, which makes something a question. So like, is not your coming for our consolation or for the purpose of our consolation. Rather, magis, you should, tu debes, you should prepare, praeparare, happiness, laetitiam, for the brothers. Or to the brothers. Indica nobis verum Dei. So indicate to us, dative there, the word of God, atque and reifice. So indica and the reifice are both imperatives. So he's saying, indicate to us the word of God and like refresh our souls, animas nostras, de diversis miraculis quae vidiste in oceano, of or with the diverse miracles which you saw in the ocean. So Barrindī comes, he starts to cry on the ground. Brendan lifts him up from the ground at exit illum de terra, kisses him and says, well, don't make us sad here. Tell us about the miracles that you've seen on your sea journeys and refresh our souls with that. This is the facing page, so we move on to the next page of original text. Tunc Sanctus Barrindus. Then Saint Barrindus explitis sermonibus Sancti Barrindani. I provide a footnote here for, explitis could be like having the words of Saint Brendan having been filled up or having been completed. So Saint Barrindī, now that Saint Brendan is done with his words, coepit narrare, began to narrate de quadam insula, of a certain island. So there we've got the ablative of quidem, or a certain one again, saying, deacons. By the way, this is a participle. So dicere is to say or to speak. And you can form the nominative participle of saying by adding the ns in. So deacons saying, Filiolus meus mernac. So my little child, You probably are aware of filius, meaning son. Filiolus is what's called the diminutive of that. So if you have, you know, let's say you've got a dog named Samuel. Kind of a strange name for a dog. But if you're like, oh, wee little Sammy had a good time, that's a diminutive. You're expressing fondness for the thing. So my little son, Mernach, and Procurator Pauperum Christi, which refers to Mernach as well. So my little son, Mernach, and Mernach is probably a spiritual son, so another monk in the order that Barrindī is in. And Procurator Pauperum Christi he's like a procurator or someone who takes care of the poor of Christ. So it seems Mernach runs some sort of like charitable ministry. So what did Mernach do? Mergat confugit a facie me. He fled from my face, et valuit esse solitarius, and he wanted to be solitary or alone. In vinique insulum juxta montum lapidis, and he found an island next to Mount Lapidus, nomine Deliciosa. So he finds this island next to a mountain. Post multum vero tempus nutiatum est mihi. So after much time, and we've got this word vero in there, which could mean like truly or but or and the author of the Nāvigātiō uses it a lot, and it's difficult to translate into English without it seeming clunky. So often you can just leave that out of your translation. It makes perfect sense to say, and after much time, it was announced. So nuntiatum est is was announced. We've got the past passive participle plus est. It was announced to me that, quote, he had habuisit many monks, plures monachos, plural accusative there, with him. So se cum, with him. And Deus showed, God showed many miracles, multa mirabilia, through him. Now, if you're just getting started with Latin, you might see multa mirabilia and think, oh, that's feminine nominative, isn't it? But it's not. It's neuter accusative, plural. So mirabilium is the word for miracle. So mirabilia is the plural of that. And in this case, it's plural accusative. So God showed many miracles through that one, meaning through Mernach. Therefore, parexi illuc, I went there, ut visitasem filiolum meum, that I might visit my son. And here I provide a footnote. The subjunctive is used, visitasem. You might be unfamiliar with that ending. It's subjunctive there because it's a purpose clause. He's going there so that he can see his son. Cumque apropinquasum iter trium dierum, and there, having drawn to a close a trip of 3 days, in occursum mihi, in festinavit, so he hastened, meaning Mernach. So remember here, Barrindī is going to the island to see Mernach. He completes a trip of 3 days. Mernach hastens into his path, in occursum mihi, cum fratribus suis, with his brothers. For God, Dominus, revelavit, revealed my coming or my advent to him. Dominus sibi adventum meum. Navigantibus nobis in praedictum insulam occurrerunt obvium, sicut examen apum ex diversis celilis frateris. And so we, having sailed into the aforesaid island, they ran into the way. So this is, the subject here is fratres. So they get to the island. We had sailed to the island. and we've got like an ablative absolute going on here. So, us having sailed into that island, the brothers ran, ocurrerunt, into the way, or into the road. Into the road. We can see the word via in there. Like an examen apum, it's like a hive of bees, I guess would be the word. And out of their various cells. I provide a little footnote there. Monks would often build little rooms called cells. And the idea of the bees here is that bees are a very orderly society. They're very structured. They've got like a queen bee, and all the bees work together towards a common good. So they're used that way to represent a monastery, because everyone in the monastery is working together for the good. An examen there, I gloss it in the glossary here as a crowd. Exam should really be cut out of the glossary there. So like a crowd of bees. So everyone runs out to meet Barrindī. So we've got some description of the island coming up here. Erat inim habitatio iorum sparsa. So or however, their habitation. So habitatio here is in the nominative. Eorum is plural genitive. So the habitation of them was sparse. Tamen, however, un animiter. Anima is spirit. So un animiter is an adverb meaning like with one spirit or unanimously in one spirit. Their way of life, or their conversatio, was in faith and hope. In hope, spe, at fide, at caritate. All of those are in the ablative. Una refectio, one refectory, which is like a dining room. Et ad opus Dei, and for the work of God, or for carrying out proficiendum, the work of God, one church, una ecclesia. Let's see, I've got a footnote there. However, their way of life was harmoniously in hope and faith and charity. Nihil aliud kibi ministrator. So nothing else of food was served or was administered except nisi poma et nuces atque radicis et cetera genera herbarum. So except for like apples and nuts and roots and other types of herbs. Fratres post completorium in suas singulas cellulas. So the brothers, after the completion, probably meaning the completion of like the church service, the work of God, into their cells, they remained permanencerunt. They remained in their individual cells. Singulas means like each one, their singular cells, until usque ad garorum cantus. So until the song of the roosters, meaning in the morning when the roosters crow, or the pulsum campanae, or the striking of the bell. So what this paragraph is telling us is the monks have a very orderly way of life. They've got a sparse habitation on their island. They've just got like a dining room and then like a church building, and they don't really eat much except a very like restricted diet, and they spend a lot of time in their cells, like in prayer. Per noctantibus nobis et perambulantibus totum insulam. So we, having spent the night, so you can see nocte in there, we having spent the night and walking around the whole island, meus filiolus, my little son, led me to the beach of the sea, ad litus maris, contra occidentum, against the west, ubi erat navicula, where there was a little ship. So here a navicula could be considered like a diminutive form of navis, meaning boat. at dixit mihi, and he said to me, Pater, ascinde in navem, Father, ascend into the boat, or get in the boat, navigemus contra occidentalem plagam, and we will sail against or away from the west coast, ad insulam, to the island, quae dicitur, which is called terra re promissionis sanctorum, the land, the promised land of the saints, quam Deus daturus est, which God will give to our successors, successoribus nostris, in novissimo tempore, in the last time. So this terra re promissionis sanctorum is the main driver of the plot of the Nāvigātiō, because St. Brendan's going to end up wanting to travel to this promised land of the saints as well. And the idea of the promised land of the saints is it's like a terrestrial paradise, if you will. This idea of it's paradise on earth. And in fact, when they get there, there's a river that runs through it that they can't cross. That kind of implies that there's an earthly paradise, and then you perhaps pass over into the eternal paradise. Anyhow, they're going to sail there. And note, they are going to sail west across the Atlantic. Ascendentibus nobis et navigantibus. So we, having ascended, meaning ascended into the boat, and having sailed, clouds, nebulae, covered us everywhere, coeperuerunt nos undique, undique is all about, in tantum, so in such an amount, ut vix potuissimus pupen auprorum naviculae videre. So the clouds, the nebulae, covered them all about in such a way that they could barely be able to, so potuissimus videre, so they could barely see the pupim or the prorum, so the poop or the prow of the ship, naviculae. That's in the genitive there. And so it's extremely cloudy. The boat that they're in isn't that big, but they can't even see the prow or the stern of the boat. Transacto vero spatio quasi unius orae. So the space, like 1 hour, so about 1 hour, having passed, transacto. So if you think in English, we've got the word transaction when you complete something. So transacto spatio quasi unius ora means about 1 hour has passed. Circum fulsit nos lux ingens. So a light, a lux ingens, a very big light. Circum fulsit nos, shone all around us. So in English, you may be familiar with a word like refulgent or something, the idea of something shining. And then circum means around. If someone circumnavigates the world, they sail around the world. So a great light shines all around. Et apparuit terra spatiosa, et herbosa pomiferosaque valde. So, and a land appeared. And what sort of land? A spacious and herbosa, like an herby, a land filled with plants, and pomiferosaque. So poma is like an apple or a fruit. So pomiferous is something that's fruit bearing. So it's a very well-fruited land, valde. If we look at aglas pomiferosa as fruit bearing, down there in the glossary. So there's this really nice land. It looks like what you'd imagine the terrestrial paradise to be. Cum statisit navis ad terram. So with the ship having stood to the shore, and here statisit comes from stare, which means to stand. In this context, it's like a nautical term, meaning that the ship has anchored. It's anchored to the shore. Perhaps it's not anchored. Perhaps it's grounded on the shore. But in any case, they've arrived at the beach. Ascendimos nos, and we ascended, meaning they ascended out of the boat, at Koipimus Kirkuire, and we began to go around at Perambulare. They began to go around the island and walk around the island, per 15 dies, for 15 days. And Ilam Insulam, is they're saying they went around that island, Ilam Insulam. Et non potuimus invenire, and we were not able to find its end or its boundary. So they arrive at the promised land of the saints. They walk around for a while. They don't find an end to it. Nihil erbai vidimus sine flore, et arborum sine fructo. So we saw no or nothing of plants without flower, or of trees without fruit. So here nihil is combined with the genitive. So nothing of plants, nothing of trees. An idiomatic translation here would be, we saw no plants without flowers, or trees without fruit. Lapides inem ipsius omnes paratiosi genere sunt. And, or for, inem, the stones of that island were all of precious types. So generis comes from genus, or type. So all the plants are fruit bearing and flowery. All the stones are precious stones. Kind of like how in the book of Revelation we're told the heavenly city has streets of gold. The idea here is they're on this great island where there's gold lying just all around, or other precious rocks. Poro, quintodecimo die. So further, poro, quintodecimo die. So this is ablative. On the 15th day, we found in Venimus fluvium vergentum ab orientali parte ad occasum. So we found a river laying, vergentum, participle there, from the eastern part to the western. So there's a river flowing from east to west across this promised land of the saints. Cumque considerassimus haec omnia. So here's another circumstantial clause. And we, having considered all of these things, haec omnia is plural neuter accusative. Dubium nobis erat. So it was doubtful, dubium, to us, what we ought to do. Debuissimus agere. So they get to this river, they don't know what to do. Placuit nobis transire flumen. So going across the river, so ire is to go, transire is to go across. So to go across the river pleased us, or was pleasing to us, said, expectavimus Dei concilium, but we awaited the counsel of God. Cum haec exposuimos inter nos. So having put all these things in between us, or having thought about all these things amongst us. So they're discussing, what do we do? Subitu, suddenly, quidam vir, a certain man appeared, apparuit, with great splendor, magno splendore, that's an ablative there, quorum nobis, before us, qui, who, statim, immediately, called, appellavit, called or named us by our own names, propriis nominibus, or like by our proper names, that's plural ablative there, and saluted us, saying, I'll pause here to make a little note. This idea of names being known ahead of time by holy men or by angels is pretty common. So this man just appears to them and he greets them by their names. He already knows that. He salutes them. And then he says, Euge boni fratres. That's just an introduction. So he's like, hi, good friends. or good brothers, rather. Dominus, for God, inem Dominus, for God revealed, revelavit, to you, vobis, this land, istam terram, quam datus est suis sanctis, which is to be given to his saints. So daturas here, we've got a future participle. So the land is to be given in the future to his saints. Est enim medietas insulae estius, usque ad istum flumen. For it is the middle of this island up until this river. Meaning the river that runs from east to west kind of like cuts the land in two. Non licet vobis transire ulterius. So it is not allowed, non licet. We've got this word in English, licit versus illicit. Usually illicit is used more, so if people talk about like illicit drug use, what does that mean? It's drug use that's not allowed. So it's not allowed to you, vobis, to cross over to the other side. Therefore, igitur revertimini, return from where you were. And let's see, I gloss existis here as from where you came out. And note there's a syncopation going on. You could do it exi vistis, or it shortens to existis. Cum haec dixit, so having said these things, and again, haec there is plural neuter accusative. Statim, so right away or immediately, I interrogated that one, interrogavi illum, unde asset, from where he was, aut quo nomine vocaretur, or by what name, or with what name, ablative there, he is called. We've got the passive construction. So this guy appears, he calls them by their own name, and says, you can't cross over the river. The land will be given to the saints of God, but you can't cross over the river right now. You need to go back. And they ask his name, and he replies, qui ait, who said, ait, cura me interrogas, unde sim aut quo modo vocer. So why do you interrogate me from where I am? So sim here is the subjunctive of to be. I think I add a little note. Yep. Or by what manner, quo modo, in what way I am called, vocat. We've got another passive there. Quade, why me non interrogas de ista insula? So why do you not interrogate me or ask me about this island? Sicut illam vides modo. So as you see it, meaning the island, illam, now, ita ab initio mundi permanet. So, just as, sicut, you see it now, thus it remains from the beginning of the world, ab initio mundi. So there's a couple notes about this sentence here. You have to make a choice for modo. So modo could mean recently, now, or presently, when it has no macrons. Or if you wanted, you could throw a macron over that last O, and then it'd be in this way or in this mode. So it could be just as you see it in this way, or just as you see it now, thus it remains from the beginning of the world. Carl Selmer's critical text doesn't have macrons in it, and I haven't looked at the manuscripts. There are many manuscripts of the Nāvigātiō. Many of them don't have macrons in them at all. So it's kind of your choice on how to interpret it. But the other interesting thing here is, thus it remains from the beginning of the world. So the idea kind of is there's like this terrestrial paradise that's remained from the beginning. And I threw in a footnote here. You might be tempted to say, well, is this island the Garden of Eden? Because it seems like a paradise. But there's two reasons I don't think that would be a good inference. Number one is that man was kicked out of the garden. There was an angel with a flaming sword placed at its entrance to keep man out of it, if you read the book of Genesis. And you'd think we'd get some interaction in here with that idea of like an angel guarding it. It was like these guys just disembark and they can wander around the island for 15 days before like an angel or a man comes to them and talks to them. The other problem is it's in the wrong spot. The Garden of Eden was in the Middle East. Like we're talking, if you read Genesis, like the Euphrates flows through it. And this island is on the west through the Atlantic. So we move on. Indigis aliquid kibi aut potus sivi vestamente. So did you lack? And in English, we've got the word indigent for someone who lacks or someone who's poor. So did you lack anything of food or of drink or of clothing? Unum annum inem es in hac insula et non gustasti cibo aut de potu. For you have been a year in this island, and you have not tasted of food or of drink. So this is an interesting little note because Barrindi's just got done saying that they had spent 15 days walking around the island. And then this like angelic man appears to them and says like, you've been in this island for a year and you haven't needed anything of food or of water. So there's a time perception difference going on. Numquam fuiste oppresso somno. So you were, fuisti, never, numquam, oppressed by sleep, meaning they never had to sleep. Nec, neither, did night cover you. Te cooperuit. Dies namque est semper. So it is always day. Sine ulla caecitate tenebrarum. Without any blindness of darkness. So meaning it never gets dark. Hic, so here, Dominus noster Iesu Christus lux ipsius est. So here, our Lord Jesus Christ is the light of it. This is very reminiscent of the book of Revelation, where John tells us that the heavenly city has no need for a sun because God himself is the light. So the same thing happens in this island. They don't need food or water or clothing. It's never night. They never need to sleep. Confestem in coavimus iter, et ille praedictus ver nobiscum fervenet, usque ad litus ubierat nostra novicula. So at once we started the journey. In English, we've got the word inchoate, meaning something that's starting. So at once we started the journey, and that aforesaid man came with us, pervenit nobiscum, so with us, nobiscum, until the beach where our little boat was. Et ascenditibus autem in navem, so having gotten up into the boat, raptus est idem vir ab oculis nostris. So the same man was raptured up, or he was taken up from our eyes. So they get in the boat and the man disappears. Venimus per praedictum caliginum ad insulum deliciosum. And we came through the aforesaid cloud to the delicious island. So they had to sail through clouds to get to the promised land of the saints. They sail back through the same cloud to return to the insula deliciosa. At ubi fratres nos virunt, and when the brothers saw us, they exulted, or were happy. In English, we have the word exultant. Exultabat exultatione magna de aventu nostrus. They exulted with great exultation from our arrival. Et plorabant, and they were crying, de absentia nostra, about our absence for a long time, multa tempore, deacontes. And here you've seen deacons in this book for saying. This is also saying, but it's plural because it's multiple people doing it. So deacontes. So cur patres. So why fathers? And again, this is spiritual fathers, like abbots. Dimicistis, so why, fathers, did you leave your sheep, vestras oves, and here meaning the monks are likened to sheeps, or to sheep rather, sine pastore, without a shepherd, wandering in this woods. So why did you leave your sheep wandering in these woods without a shepherd? Novimus autem abatum nostrum frequentera nobis discedere in aliquam partum. So we knew, however, that our abbot frequently would leave from us. And note here, discedere is to leave. So we knew him to leave is literally how it is. In English, you'd probably translate it as we knew that he would leave, or is common to him to leave into another part, so into another place. Sed nescimus in quam, but we didn't know into what part. So they know their abbot sails away occasionally or frequently, but they don't know where he goes. Et ibidem demorare aliquando unum mensum, aliquando duas hebdomadas, siu unum hebdomam vel plus minus fe. And there to dwell, sometimes 1 month, sometimes 2 weeks, duas hebdomadas, or unum hebdomadum, or 1 week, or plus or minus. So the idea here is he's gone for a month, or sometimes 2 weeks, plus or minus a week. Next page. Cum haec audicem, coepit illos confortare edicens eis. So having heard these things, or when I heard these things, because remember this is Barrindī still talking. So when I heard these things, he began to comfort them, saying to them, and here Murnock is the one doing the comforting, saying to them, Nolite fratres putare aliquid nisi bonum. So don't, brothers, think or reckon anything except good. Vestara conversatio procul dubio. So your way of life, conversatio vestara, your way of life, without doubt, procul dubio, far from doubt, without doubt, is before the gate of paradise. And this is an interesting one, an interesting statement for him to make, because it's a double meaning. In one sense, they can sail from the Insula Deliciosa without too much effort and arrive at the gates of paradise. They can get to the promised land of the saints just by sailing west. But in a spiritual manner, the monkish life here is said to be like the very gates of paradise. So hic prope, so near here, est insula, is an island, which is called, quae vocatur terra re promissionis sanctorum, the promised land of the saints, ubi nec nox imminent, so where neither night is imminent, nor is there an end of days. Iduc frequentatur abbas Murnock. So the abbot Murnock is frequently there, or he frequents there. And I make a little note here, frequentatur is used like a definite verb because it has an active meaning in the sentence. So by context, I'd say Murnock frequents there. For angels of the Lord guard him. And it's interesting, this little detail is given here in that we're not told of an angel guarding him until we see the man beside the river, who's presumably an angel. So perhaps the angels guard them during the entire sea voyage as well, and we just weren't told about that until this point. None cognoscitis, do you not know, in odore nostrorum, quod in paradiso Dei fuimos. So do you not know by the odor in our vestments, or the smell of our clothes, that we were in the paradise of God? Quod fuimos in paradiso Dei. Tunc fratres respondere. So then the brothers responded, saying, Father, Abba, we knew that you were in the paradise of God, quia fuiste in paradiso Dei. Spatium marus, ubi est ille paradisus ignoramus. But we do not know the place of the sea where that paradise is. Nam saepe for often the fragrance of the vestments of our abbot probabimus. So we often test, or we often experience the fragrance of the vestments of our abbot. And it's almost Paine usque ad quadraginta dies tenebantur ab odore. So often, or almost, sorry, that Paine is almost. So almost until 40 days, they are had by that odor. Meaning, like, after their abbot comes back from paradise, his clothes still smell like paradise for 40 days. And, last page of this chapter. This is a longer chapter. The next chapters aren't nearly as long in general. Ilic vero mansi duas continuas hebdomadas cum filiolo mea sine cibo et potu. So there, ilic, vero, and we'll just throw that word out. I remained, or we remained rather, for 2 continuous weeks with my son. Mansi is I remained 2 continuous weeks with my little son without food or water. In tantum habuimus de satietate corporare, ut ab aliis videremur repleti musto. So in which we had such satiation of the body that by others we appeared to be full of new wine. I threw in a footnote here with a reference to the life of Anthony, which has a very striking passage. It's really the one from the life of Anthony that stuck with me the longest, where it says this. Anthony's like doing this fast in a demon-haunted abandoned Roman fortress where like he blocks himself into this fortress, and people hear like the sound of like bulls and leopards and things. It sounds like a fight's going on inside. And then when Anthony comes out, it says this, and they, when they saw him, wondered at the sight, for he had the same habit of body as before, and he was neither fat like a man without exercise, nor lean from fasting and striving with the demons, but he was just the same as they had known him before his retirement. So there it's kind of the same idea where he's on this fast, and when he comes out, he doesn't look fat or thin, but he's like achieved this Aristotelian golden mean of fulfilling what a man ought to look like. And he does that through spiritual disciplines. And in the same way, being in the terrestrial paradise makes them seem that way to others. Post vero quadraginta dies, and after 40 days, accepta benedictione fratrum et abbatis, having accepted a benediction, so we've got an ablative absolute there, of the fathers and of the abbot, genitive there, reverso sum, so I returned, past passive participle plus esse, so I returned with my associates, or with my friends, ut redirem ad celum meum ad quam mitrus ero cras, that I might return to my cell, to which I will journey, or I will go tomorrow. And yeah, it's a future periphrastic construction. If you want to learn more about periphrastic constructions, open up a copy of Wheelock's. They've got a chapter on it. So moving on in the story. His auditis, so having heard these things, Sanctus Brendanus cum omni congregatione sua, so St. Brendan with all his congregation, prostraverunt se, they prostrated themselves on the ground, ad terram. So they laid on the ground, glorificantes Deum ad dicantes, so glorifying God and saying, Justus Dominus in omnibus vii suis. So God is just in all his ways. Viis here, plural ablative from via, road. Et sanctus in omnibus operibus suis, and holy in all of his works. Qui revelavit servis suis tanta ectalia mirabilia, who reveals to his servants such and of such type miracles. I think I glossed that. Yeah, so great and such miracles would be another way to do tanta ectalia. And blessed in his gifts, benedictus in doni suos, qui hodie nos tareficit de tali gusto spiritale et potu, who today, hodie, refreshed us of such spiritual food and drink. So his finiti sermonibus, so having finished these words, another ablative absolute there, Sanctus Brendanus said, dixit Sanctus Brendanus, Iemus ad refectionem corporis et ad mandatum novum. So let us go to the refection of the bodies, or the refreshment of the body, and to the new commandment. And here, this is according to the Dickinson commentary. The new commandment apparently is this the scriptural text recited at Compline. The phrase itself reflects John 13:34, which is when Jesus says, "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you." So they decide to do some monkish stuff here. Transactu autem ille nocte. So having spent that night, or with that night having been spent, ablative absolute, and having accepted a benediction in the morning of the brothers, or from the brothers, another ablative absolute, Sanctus Barrindus per exit, so he left, or he went to his cell, ad celam suam. And that finishes chapter 1. So as a recap, what happened, St. Brendan is an abbot. He's got 3,000 monks under him. One of his friends, St. Barrindī, travels to see him and tells him of a trip that Barrindī took with Murnock, another monk, to the promised land of the saints, which is like this terrestrial paradise, perhaps like a Caribbean island kind of thing, across the Atlantic. They go around the promised land of the saints for 14 days. A man or an angel appears to them and tells them they can't cross over the river that runs through the middle of the land, but they have to return. They go back, and then St. Brendan is finished. He finishes the story. St. Brendan has now heard of this land, and in the next chapter, he's going to pick out some people to go with him, and they're going to set out to try to find this land themselves. But that'll be in the next video.